So, just for those who are here, sorry, we have these little booklets that have been gifted, which are a little one by the Dalai Lama on universal, the global community and need for universal responsibility. In other words, bodhicitta. So, who would like? Do you want to pass around? Oh, Venerable Wongmo is passing around now. Thank you very much. So I had a few things to announce. So one other announcement, I mentioned the prayer-a-thon that I think a lot of us are quite familiar with. It's certainly become a feature of our every Saturday for some time now. The 24-hour prayer-a-thon, the monks and nuns of FPMT, the International Mahayana Sangha Institute, Sangha, those of us here and others all the way around the world, who are engaging in this practice of the Tetong Gyalpo prayer, liberating the Sakya from disease, as Lama Zopa Rinpoche has advised us to do for until the pandemic declines, reduces. I thought at first that Rinpoche had said to do until it goes away, but it said until it declines. So we don't know when that will be. We see our poor brothers, sisters in Europe at the moment, in the US and India, other places who are really suffering a lot from outbreaks of this, continuing outbreaks of coronavirus. For us here in Queensland, we're very, very fortunate. So far, so good. In terms of not too many cases, but we know that can change at any moment, as we saw with Victoria. And I think now they're sort of coming out of that heavy phase. But it can change any moment. So we continue to do these practices. Of course, it is a collective karma, we could say as well, of us in this world system, that it has ripened. So we couldn't prevent the ripening of this. It has come to fruition. But what we can do is provide contributing conditions. Of course, those of you who are working in the medical profession are providing that sort of conditions for health and management of this, and those of us in the Sangha and Dharma practitioners doing what we can as advised by our lamas, and this is following in the lama's advice. So Lama Zopa Rinpoche, and of course His Holiness the Dalai Lama also says Tara mantras, very good. So maybe we'll do some Tara mantras. So maybe some people not familiar with the Tara mantra. I think in the Silver Book, it's in there. It's in this prayer book, so the retreat prayer book, those who have. Yes, there is the praises of the...
Yes, it's at the end of that.
Okay. It does have a contents page at the beginning.
267 is praises to the 21 Taras. So at the end of that... 276. That's the abbreviation.
Yes, that's the one we want.
Okay.
So those of us who have the retreat book, is the mantra is on page 276 down the bottom. So Tara here, green Tara, who I mentioned this morning about Chenrezig, having that moment of despair that the suffering hadn't been relieved in the world, not giving up, just like wow, the suffering, and this is what is the impetus for tantric practice. And it is said that 2 tears came down his either side, and then out of those tears emanated green Tara and white Tara. So white Tara, Droka, we say for long life, and green Tara, which is this mantra here. So she represents all the swift action of all the Buddhas. So all the Buddhas have fully developed qualities, of course, you know, the complete. But we focus on different aspects to benefit our practice. So actually, if we think about, we were talking earlier about the inspiration of gurus, our lamas and so forth, and their great practice. And then, of course, also Tara. So the story, I think it's in one of the books, I think by Sutra Alioni. I think it's Women of Wisdom. I was going to check up and make sure, but the little, you know, they're just short things about women in Tibetan Buddhism. And so Tara, when she was, you know, in human form, Yeshidawa, and she was surrounded by monks who could see. So they must have been at some level of realization to see she had some level of realization, or at least that she was a very serious practitioner, and said, oh, it's a shame you're female. You better pray to come back as male. So of course, this is not the teachings of the Buddha. I mean, we have in the Heart Sutra, every son of the lineage, I mean, that's the language used, the lineage from the Buddha, any son of the lineage or daughter of the lineage. So, I mean, the Buddha was very clear about this, no problem whatsoever, no problem what caste, no problem what gender, anything. Any son or daughter of the lineage. So, in response, Tara Yeshidawa made a vow that when she became enlightened, she would always take female form, you know, to benefit those who particularly have connection with female forms. All the guys in prison love Tara. I say guys because most of the people who engage with the Liberation Prison Project are men. But I'm never sure if it's because she's called Tara the Liberator. Because I think they get out of prison quicker. If it helps subdue their mind, we go with it. Anyway, so she's swift action. So it's very good. We have, as one can do as a daily practice, the praises to the 21 Taras, and at least we do here on Tara Day, which is the 8th of the Tibetan month, which is also a long life day. But we do the 21 Taras, and well, the whole puja. But and then there's a concise, abbreviated verse. Can't remember who it was. It was someone. Did they come to a teacher or they come to Buddha, and they said they didn't have time to do all the practice, so they got this abbreviated verse. I can't remember who it was now. But anyway, the abbreviated verse, it has the same power as the 21 verses. So we're going to recite the Tara mantra, and we can think of all those we know who are affected by coronavirus in the world, which is all of us human beings. We're affected one way or another, in many different ways, some of us. You know, people who've died, people who have contracted this disease, those who've contracted it and have got, what's the long-term effect called? There's a name for it. Post-viral fatigue syndrome. And then there's all the medics or the frontliners or the police or the, you know, guarding borders and defense forces and all the ordinary beings. all in those categories to get covered. All the Dharma practitioners, all our precious lamas, everybody. So holding everyone in mind in this world system, may the karma, it has ripened, but may this disease be pacified according to the power of Togtam Gyalpo and according to the guidance of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So there is a little tune we can, shall we do? No, better not. Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha. Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha. Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha. So I think we can visualize Tara, even though we don't know much about her. She's up here, green, above the crown of other beings, ourselves included, and think that all the healing energy, swift action of Tara coming down through the crowns, bringing, purifying light, eliminating any causes for the future. Actually, any afflictions arising in the mind that cause disease like this and other diseases in the world. Om Tare Tutare Turi Soha. 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 Om Tare Tutare. Om Tare Tutare Turi Soha. So if you're unfamiliar, if you want to take a photo of that or whatever, just feel free. One you can do it in the car, at home. There's a bit, I don't know if we've got it in the shop, in a beautiful, oh, there's quite a few beautiful recordings of that. It's online, really lovely. It was the one that had a green cover on the CD with an endless knot, Okay, so I'm going to have some Q&A discussion. I thought, in the last session we were talking about the need for inspiration in terms of lamas, gurus, in terms of, inspiring us with the practice. We mentioned a few biographies, and I just mentioned the backstory, as I like to say, of Tara, and of course Vajrasattva as well. Vajrasattva is the Buddha that we engage in the practice for one of them for purification. So one of the ones for purification. So he's white, which makes it easy to think of purification, it's white. And we visualize the white light coming down above the crown of our head and flushing out and so forth. There's many different visualizations come with that. But cleansing, purifying, along with the four opponent powers, the power of regret for any harm that we've done, body, speech and mind, today, in this lifetime, since the beginning of this time, in all lifetimes, whether I remember it or not, I've done it. The Buddha said we've done it all. So may all that be completely purified, so we, invoke and rely on the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha, and particularly arising in this aspect of Vajrasattva, and engage in this practice of purification, which we say is the remedy, and then we make a commitment at the end. I never make a commitment. So far, I've never made the commitment. May I never get angry. No, may I never get angry again is fine. I can't say I will never get angry again because I do not yet have that confidence. But I will say, may my anger be, so what they say is make a commitment for a realistic time frame. So I can be very sure while I'm doing the practice, I'm not going to arise anger. So that's already weakening the tendency to anger. I've already identified it, then I weaken it. Okay, so that's just, so Vajrasattva, it's the backstory of Vajrasattva I'm getting to. when a bodhisattva training on the path, because they say when you're a bodhisattva training on the path and you make those aspirational prayers, like Tara made the prayer to always come back as female form. Oh, sorry, I forgot to tell you about the tears. Go back to the tears. We're still stuck at the tears. So Tara came out of the tears and said, Chenrezig, don't give up. I'll help you swiftly. Go into swift action. So she came out one side and White Tara out the other side to help, to be of aid. Tara to the rescue. So we can think like that. Okay, so that's Tara's story. And then Vajrasattva, as a bodhisattva training on the path, because, you know, whatever aspirations you make, you know, you continue to make those, even though all the Buddhas have all the infinite qualities. It's sort of like different Buddhas, different areas of specialization, I suppose we could say, expertise, that they focus on when they're on the bodhisattva path, and then that comes to fruition, and they emanate in those forms. Of course, they can emanate in any form, but so Vajrasattva, purification, particularly in relation to vows. We talked about the importance of keeping vows, keeping samaya, any vows that we've taken, refuge vows, or we say refuge vows, but they're pratimoksha, individual liberation vows, no killing, no stealing, no lying, no sexual misconduct, no intoxicants, if you've indeed taken that one. And then the bodhisattva vows, and then the tantra vows. So Vajrasattva said he was hopeless. He broke them all. And so he had difficulty maintaining vows. I mean, so he said. And so his promise, his pledge was, when I become a Buddha, I'm going to help everyone else like me who stuffs it up. So that's why we go to Vajrasattva. Thank you, Vajrasattva. It was a human being, right? As human beings, we make mistakes. Comes with the territory. Okay, so over to you. Who inspires you in your, you know, speeding along the spiritual path? And why? Anybody can jump in.
Quite a few of my fellow nuns are very inspiring, I must say.
Yangshin's inspired by her fellow nuns, Sangha, fellow Sangha. It's so important, isn't it? This is why I love, just picking up on what you're saying, this whole prayer-a-thon, because I hope you as lay practitioners are inspired by that too. I know Leonie's on there 24/7. It seems she's there for the whole gig.
Except this weekend, I just keep it running.
Yeah, I go to sleep, you know. She keeps it running at home. I go, she's still on there. Get up in the morning. Leonie's on.
Said on the, I think on Facebook, I have it on too. I'm doing other things.
Yeah. She said she's doing other things.
It's just on. Yeah.
It's on.
Yeah.
So anytime she wakes up in the middle of the night, there it is. But I think it's so inspiring, connecting with the monks and nuns around the world. And I suppose for you two new nuns, that's been really, I would hope, really good to know you're not alone. There's a whole bunch of us everywhere around the world.
And to be able to put a face to a name.
Putting a face to a name.
Someone we've heard of. And, the lovely gentleman in France who asked you to take over from him.
Oh, Venerable Tenda, yes, at Nalanda, where they had puja the night before. It was a Guru puja the Saturday night, and somehow they'd blown the lights, and so they didn't have any power, so they couldn't do their slots of the practice. So we were here doing morning practice, and so it's like, oh, you're there. Oh, well, you can take over. It's so nice, you know, that we can depend on each other, rely on each other. And I think not only as ordained, but all of us, you know, wherever we are in our Dharma journey, the Dharma jewels. Evo hasn't had a chance to even talk about the Dharma jewels yet today. That's our group, the Dharma jewels, officially entitled the Dharma jewels 2 years ago, right? It was 2 years ago.
Well, actually, that's a good point, because people have shared stuff through our journey with this, and they have been really inspiring. Graham, for one.
Graham's been very inspiring.
Lisa. People who
don't feel left out, anybody.
No, please don't feel left out. But Sonia, actually. But people who have come across a particular issue and they've applied the Dharma teachings to that and have made spectacular progress.
So can you hear online, or do you need me to repeat? So Venerable Yangshin saying, each other. All the DB Dharma brothers, sisters, over time, right? Inspiring each other. I mean, this is, you know, it's, even though this year, you know, we've been sometimes completely online and sometimes we've been face to face and sometimes we've been in lockdown, but to be able to inspire each other either way, I mean, thankfully we have technology, you know. I mean, WhatsApp's never been so busy. I'm not advertising for any of these people, just, you know, all the different things we use. So all the different technologies we use, it's fantastic. It just helps us all not only be connected, but also to be able to link in with our lamas, even though they're not physically present. All of a sudden, Lama Zopa Rinpoche wasn't coming in March, and we did the retreat that Rinpoche was going to give the empowerment for. And so transmission of, which we didn't receive directly from Rinpoche yet that time. And so we just kept going, inspired, you know. And then, of course, Rinpoche is unstoppable in all these teachings, and His Holiness. Anyway, so who else?
I think it's definitely to say he came to my mind as well.
His Holiness.
The other thing, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, also just his, when I read Big Love now, and you sort of see him and Lama Yeshe.
Yeah.
And you read in the book, and then but now Lama Zopa Rinpoche, like, had the opportunity to connect with him, and it's so inspiring. And that he was very humble. He is very humble, and look where he is now and what he's doing. Like, that transformation has just grown so much. And I think that's actually, he's really just embraced everything, and he's also got this urgency of getting the message out. So the urgency of Lama Zopa Rinpoche is what you're saying, and the Dalai Lama. Like, you're seeing the Dalai Lama at work, telling all the Indians what he wants them to do, especially the scholars, to revive the Nalanda tradition where we get all this from, you know. So it's really quite remarkable, you know, this, and the sense of urgency, because coming back to what we were talking, I mentioned just briefly this morning, but His Holiness has said many times, and we keep saying, did he really say that? Yes, he really said that. 30, 40 years maybe of this world. Not long, huh?
But he said it more than like in different teachings that he's given this year, he has repeated that. So
this is a time, you know, we keep hearing this term, a time of great degeneration, which is a degeneration. We talk about these countless great eons, you know, the three we mentioned this morning. The Buddha took 3 countless great eons for enlightenment on the Sutra path, right? And you know, demonstrating the whole path. And so the 3, so a great eon is said to be the time for a world system to come into existence and out of existence. And so we are coming towards the end of existence of this world system. So that's why global warming is part of that, because increased fire, we've seen that. We've seen that in Australia, in the US, in Bangladesh, where else? You know, various places in the world. Not to mention the poor Pacific Islanders who's, you know, losing their country, right, as the sea level rises. So we're seeing all these imbalances, as His Holiness said, you know, in all of the elements. He said, I think we've had the war situation, because Lama Zopa Rinpoche at the beginning of the year, he said, in March, you know, when he gave the transmission of Tagtong Gyalpo's 3 prayers, one for overcoming pandemic, one for overcoming famine, which Rinpoche said will come next, and then the next week WHO announced famine will come at the end of the pandemic, and I thought, that's quick. And then world conflict, where not only are there wars, but everyone in the world at war with everyone in the world. And we see that playing out to quite an extent, not necessarily all holding guns and fighting in that way, but just look at the amount of disharmony in the world, right? And at all levels. And this, before I go over there, and then, so His Holiness said, I think we've done that one. I think we've got that one. And then he said, and then we talk about the fire at the end of the great eon, that is like, basically, the earth ceases to exist. And what was the other one? Wind, the wind. I guess that goes with the fire, the wind. And then straight away you see all these, we know we've always had tornadoes and all of this sort of thing, but there's more disturbance in the world of the elements. This makes it harder for our practice, but also in some ways easier because we see the urgency. We see the necessity for it. And this is what our lamas are pushing. This is why we need quick methods, because it's urgent, like there's no time to muck around. And His Holiness is, I think maybe the last teaching or one before, said if we, engage in our practice, he didn't say specifically Tantra, but it makes sense if we want swift methods, get to the Pure Land, and we will actually observe the destruction of this world from a safe distance. Well, you didn't say that. That's my...
I don't recall hearing
No,
myself.
no, that's my conventional mind jumping in. Because it's not...
I heard that.
You heard that?
Not in those words,
But basically saying, yeah, we'll be in the Pure Land. So it's basically practice, practice, practice. Get yourself enlightened.
This planet will disintegrate, but we won't.
Oh no.
We will either go somewhere else or into a Pure Land or into another
The planet will disintegrate. Sally's saying the planet will disintegrate, but we won't. We'll go to another planet. Well, do you remember Y2K?
Oh, yeah.
The Earth was going to come to an end because the computers couldn't cope. Remember that?
Mm.
And I asked you, somebody asked His Holiness in 1998, 2 years before, what are we going to do? He said, I'll just go somewhere else. Like if the Earth comes to an end, go somewhere else. So this is this very subtle level of mind, not in this form, but this very subtle level of mind that's going to then take rebirth, either in another world system or in a Pure Land. We choose.
In a lotus sounds nice.
Yeah, being born in a lotus sounds nice, you reckon?
Yeah, that would be nice.
Guru Rinpoche. And you'll notice that also Geshe Tsultrim's getting very busy with making statues, because it's also, when we see a statue, when we say a tanka, we don't say it's a picture. I mean, it is, or a 3D hunk of stone, which it is, or wood. It's we can see, like, this is where the Buddhas are, right? So it's like down here we've a gathering of the Nalanda masters, and their mates are coming along soon. The rest of the Nalanda masters are coming, the whole 17 of them. And we're going to have Guru Rinpoche over here. And now Geshe has got an idea of the dam that's going to become the lake, the Sopema Lake. Another Guru Rinpoche statue down there. Bit unstoppable, really. And the new Chenrezig statue, according to the advice of Lama Zopa Rinpoche, so that Geshe is making sure also that we follow swiftly the advice of Lama Zopa Rinpoche. We've got 20 pages to cover from the outstanding advice from Rinpoche over the years. So last time Rinpoche was here, and the 21 Taras had just arrived and are in the Tara room, and Rinpoche gave advice how to do the altar and everything. It's done. So swiftly following the Guru's advice, that's what we're trying to do here. Okay, so I haven't allowed you much time to tell me about who inspires you. Anybody in your Dharma practice? Or what inspires you? Venerable Rabina. Yeah?
Very accessible, very practical, even for little peanuts, like myself, she says. So
Rachel, the non-peanut over here, said peanuts. Venerable Rabina is very accessible, makes it accessible. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Pema Chodron.
Pema Chodron, yeah.
I must say, doing the occasional session on for the prayer-a-thon, and to see Venerable Rabina's name just on the list, and
yes,
you know, it's just like well, she's just way up here in terms of.
You're on the list with her.
But I'm on the same list with her.
I'm on the list.
My name's on the
You're on the
same
same
page.
picture.
I don't know.
I was also there. And
It's amazing.
don't dismiss karma. There's no mistakes in karma. There's no luck. You know, someone asked Geshe the other day, is there such a word as luck in Tibetan or in Tibetan Buddhism? Nope. So we take things at a conventional level. We might say one thing, but remember we have heart connections with Islam. And sometimes, you know, certainly for this life, and this is very important, but lifetime to lifetime. I think Jetsuman Tesen Pamo, you know, when you read her story and her teacher from her previous life recognized her and said, oh, shame you came back in female form. Not for the sake of coming back in female form, but the sake of them not being able to be so close. So some would, you would have to infer that in previous life, they were very physically close, you know. So they couldn't be in close physical proximity or like maybe attendant, I don't know, I have no idea, fellow monks or whatever, but because of taking female form. But then all her instructions and advice as a female was like, go girl. And what she has done for women, like Tara, in this, you know, for women in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, or, you know, women in Buddhism, so fantastic, wonderful, quite inspiring. So it's possible, you know, these things are possible.
Sakyadita ladies.
Sakyadita, yes. Sakyadita, so that's set up by Tenzin Palmo and Kamalakshmi Somo well, I don't know where she is at the moment, from the US. I met her in San Diego, but no, I had met her in Sydney actually. Anyway, she does have a house in San Diego, but she wasn't living there. So she set up the nunnery in Dharamshala for the nuns to get the same like Geshe training as the monks.
When they were here last year.
Yeah, at the Geshe-mas who were here last year, how inspiring is that? You know, to be training along with the blokes and not, I mean Geshe Kelsang Wangmo, I always think, you know, she was like this solo woman in her class, not only that, a Westerner amongst the Tibetans and so forth. So you've got to have big courage for this path. Okay, all right, anything else coming up from your side? Otherwise I'll ask you questions.
Various movies and books and things.
Yes, movies, books.
Yeah. I realised how important it is to keep myself inspired, and so yeah, I've got a list, but I don't have it with me. But yeah,
so
there's
reading
a lot out there.
Certainly reading biographies, Lama Tsongkhapa and so forth. Reading their biographies, seeing. I mean, I remember when I read the story of Lama Konchok, Geshe Lama Konchok. And I was like, how did you do that?
Yeah.
And that, and that, and that. It's like impossible.
It's
How
like
could you do all that?
Numbers of things.
Numbers of things.
Wow.
Yeah, so I think we use that as sources of inspiration for us, and particularly the, you know, beings in this world who we know or have encountered or so forth, because we can see. You know, sometimes you say, yeah, but that was Shakyamuni Buddha, that was India, that was 2,500, 600 years ago, somewhere else, another time, another place, right? But if we see it, our teachers or so forth who inspire us in this life and say, listen, folks, this is how you do it in the 21st century. This is how the Buddha would have done it in the 21st century.
There's the one text that inspires me is Shantideva's Bodhisattva Way of Life.
Bodhisattva's Way of Life, yes,
and
absolutely.
So many commentaries on that, from Pema Chodron has done one, Lama Zopa has done one. You go back in time, you know, and there's not one reading of either a translation or a commentary that I don't get something new. I've only been reading it for a few years, so I've got a few more to go. But to me, that is just the most inspiring text.
Yes, absolutely. Bodhisattva's Way of Life, and we've got Gyaltsab Che's commentary we're studying at the moment on that. And so which takes us back to Lama Tsongkhapa and then takes you back to Shantideva and Atisha and, wonderful. And actually, reading all the, on the Chenrezig practice, the Nyungnes, I love this, it's there, Abiding in the Retreat. So that book, because it tells you all the lineage of that practice and who they all were. And so you get a little bio, it's just half a page or so on each, but it's so useful because, sometimes we say these prayers and we make prayers, the lineage lamas, and you don't know who they are, you're just struggling to pronounce their names. And so it gives you the whole, so this one, I think Venerable Elsa worked on this one, I think. She did, compiled and edited. So it is absolutely brilliant, And not only about the practice, but of course, and what about Golonmo Palmo, Bhikshuni Lakshmi in Sanskrit, her practice of Chenrezig and direct insights from Chenrezig and passing on this amazing practice that then enables us, as a deity practice, doing the Chenrezig practice.
She was down here sweeping the path this morning. Venerable Elsa.
And Venerable Elsa was down here sweeping the path this morning. There you go.
Cleaning the statues.
Cleaning the statues. There you go. Quietly going about. Wonderful. Amazing. Yeah. So keeping our sources of inspiration alive. All right. Any other points coming up? It seems like we just started and now it says we've got a break time, is it? No. No, we've got 15 minutes. Okay. So this morning, we focused in the first session a lot on these three principal aspects of the path as a foundation for tantric practice. So why so important? Why so important to have these as a foundation for the practice?
So that your practice of Tantra is genuine.
So how is your practice of Tantra then genuine?
As in not mistaken.
As unmistaken, to make it unmistaken, so that you have the correct view and correct understanding and motivation. Yeah. Remind me your name again.
Tajani.
Tajani.
I'm just thinking when you are going on a particular path and you actually start to struggle with it and you've got that foundation, you've got something to go back on.
Yes, something to go back on when you're on a particular path and you've got your foundations in place, so you're not going to just crash out. So most definitely. So we could take each one by one. Why is renunciation, or the mind of, what did Lama Yeshe say? Emerging. So in what way is that important for tantric practice specifically?
So you propel you to have this motivation to get away from suffering.
To prepare you to have a motivation to get away from suffering, Yangshin?
No grasping. Or less
I want to know what this was. She's going like this. And I'm like, no grasping.
Yeah.
So grasshopping. That's Lama Lundra, grasshopping.
Yeah, less of that.
Less grasping, so that letting go of the mind of attachment, that could be an obstacle, because we say we take desire into the path of Tantra, and so you think, oh, I've got to be attached to things. No, not be attached. It's using that energy of desire. So we have to just be able to distinguish that without having the attachment. for example. So it's about, when they say taking the mind of desire into it, it means about cultivating the mind of bliss, cultivating the enjoyments, enjoying things. As Tenzin Palmo, when she says, when she ordained way back, in the 60s, wasn't it? And she said, yeah, when was the, it wasn't too long ago, living memory, they had her 50 years anniversary of ordination. Was living memory, even for me? No, not for me. Oh, shush. Okay, so she said, this princess who invited her to her palatial abode to stay, and she said, I can't go there, I've just renounced all that. She said, well, you can stay, you can enjoy that, you go to your cave, you enjoy that. And of course, that's pretty much what happened, right? So it's enjoy what you have, but not grasping, and that's right. Venerable Yangshan saying, we're not grasping at that as the source of my happiness, because for a start it's not, so it's wrong. Okay, what else? Anything else? Renunciation, definite emergence?
Mama Yoshe, still go back to this YouTube video I
Yes.
sent him. He says that bodhicitta cannot be without renunciation.
Yes.
Put so much accent on renunciation, because so he gives example that you say, talking with the people who are there, said, I'm a Mahayana practitioner, I know everything about Mahayana, but if you don't have that heart, like that opening, that bodhicitta, it's like almost not useful, that you know everything about the Mahayana, for example, but you don't have that opening. That,
yes.
Things will not happen for you.
So I think Florin covered a couple there, because at the beginning, Florin said, we need to cultivate the bodhicitta. We need that foundation of renunciation, of definite emergence for ourselves, to turn away from self-grasping so that we can cherish others. I'm just elaborating slightly. But then not enough, as Lama Yeshe said, to just know everything about, practice of the Mahayana vehicle. I better practice the 6 perfections, I better take the Bodhisattva vows, I better do, 7-point cause and effect meditation, I better do Tonglen meditation. If we don't allow it to touch our heart, open our heart, right? That's what you're saying, that's what Lama Yeshe is saying, that it has to be embedded in our heart. But that's on the foundation of renunciation. So these 3 principles are progressive, and in fact encapsulate the whole of the path to enlightenment, the whole path to enlightenment in these 3 practices. Okay?
I see it as like an apprenticeship or study or anything where you study a little bit and then you go and put it into practice, and then you study a bit more and you put that into practice, and it's just this accumulation of both knowledge and skills. But you do have to start at the beginning. Like Tantra is not the beginning, and so these even they don't sound beginning, but they're your first goals. Those renunciation. You've got to chip away at those. You don't just get there by saying I'm going to.
Well, yes. So Venerable Wongo is saying they're like building blocks. Really, is that foundational? That like an apprenticeship, she says, that you progress. So it's a progressive development.
Study and practice.
Study, practice. Not just I study and then I reflect and then I meditate, but doing the 3 all the time. The 3 of those. And so then with the 3 principles, of course, bodhicitta is always our motivation. So even we're engaging in practices for of the lower scope, or the, we'd be practicing, reflecting on karma, reflecting on death and so forth. And even we take death into the path actually it's very significant, taking into the path. We're going to look at that tomorrow, taking death in the intermediate state and rebirth into the path of Tantra, because that's vital. Transforming our ordinary body into the body of a Buddha, we've already mentioned, but it's like, how the hell do we go about the practice of that, you know? So, and then the wisdom realizing emptiness, which Lama Yeshe called dissolving. So that one, why is that important? What's the significance of that? What are we, from a Tantra perspective, letting go of?
Cherishing.
Well, self-cherishing is more related to bodhicitta. I'm not saying totally incorrect, but self-cherishing is more related to cherishing others, bodhicitta.
Grasping at this full self.
Well, it's not, well, there is the grasping, yes, there's the different levels, isn't there? Grasping at a self, and we start to analyze and look at, well, where does this self that I grasp at actually appear? This story I tell about myself, and I ask someone else, or actually, I love what Bette Midler said years ago. She said, "That's enough about me. What do you think about me?" But if you did ask someone that, you do get a very different story, don't you? So it's all appearances. It's more displays, you know. So yes, there's that one, the self of phenomena. So we have all the different analytical modes for that. But the one in Tantra is we have to let go of grasping that ordinary appearance, seeing ourselves as ordinary, seeing ourselves in just this human form in this life. Because let's face it, we do that all the time, but Tantra is saying, dissolve that. That is what you're dissolving in Tantra, is this ordinary sense of self.
And this is why this expression would be better not to be used so much, I think. That when we make mistakes, say, oh, we are just humans. I think that it kind of keeps us, you know, we shouldn't think it. That is my opinion.
So Florence suggesting that maybe we could change the opinion of ourselves that says, I am just human. The just, most definitely. Yes, I am human. I'm a human being. But we could also say, yes, I'm a human being. I have the 8 freedoms and 10 endowments. I've got a precious human rebirth. This is as good as it gets, so I'm going to make the most of it. A very different way of saying I'm human, isn't it? We can still say I'm human, but it's coming from a very different perspective. It's not limiting ourselves, it's opening up all possibilities. And for Tantra, you need absolutely every possibility opened up whatsoever.
Yeah, because with this expression, just human, we you know, kind of, you know, if we get angry or we get this or we get that, negative things. We say, oh, I'm just a human. This is, you know, I think
it sounds like an excuse.
Yeah.
I get angry, so I'm just a human, so I'm not going to do anything about it.
I think
that's what your point, right?
Yes, good point.
And then we're not purifying.
We can do better than that.
In a limited self-concept, we are much more than the way we see ourselves.
Yes.
So much potential.
We have so much potential, Eva's saying, so much more than the limited ways we say ourselves.
That is the real us that is hiding behind the clouds.
Yes.
That's a lovely way to put it, Eva.
Can you say it again, Eva?
Oh, I can't remember. Like the real us is hiding behind
The real us is hiding behind the clouds. So any day now, the clouds are going to clear.
Yeah. And shine forth as your best self.
Yeah.
Shining forward is your best self. I love the
water,
best self.
you know, the H2O, the
yes.
murky, you know, with all this color.
The cleansing. Yes. Yeah. So Kate's got purification for clarity. Is that in relation to emptiness or is that in relation to something else, Kate? I'm not sure. Do you want to? Oh, it's been up there for a while. You can see I'm very slow off the mark on the chat. Sorry. Not being very inclusive. Okay. That moment may have passed. So, Sutra is called the causal vehicle. Why? What's Tantra?
Result.
And why is that?
Take the result onto the path, as the path.
Yeah. So what's the difference? What would you say is the difference between the approach of Sutra and the approach of Tantra in practice, from what you know so far?
That would make it
And we're
short.
talking Mahayana Sutra. Let's just not go Hinayana, Mahayana. Let's say Mahayana, because all of this is in with Mahayana practice. But from a Mahayana Sutra perspective, what are we engaging?
6 perfections.
6 perfections, yeah. We're engaging the 6 perfections. We're doing the Lojong mind training. Of course, it's all mind training. But, you know, okay. But mainly, the focus is on practicing of the 6 perfections. So how's this different to how we approach Tantra? It's not like we abandon the 6 perfections. Of course, we continue to do that. Sorry, Eva, continue.
It seems something very far away.
So, what seems something very far away?
The goal.
The goal in Sutra, you can say, feels far away.
Yeah, but in Tantra,
Yeah.
we already put the goal right in front of us.
We bring the goal into the present moment,
Yeah,
exactly.
We already,
Yes,
the,
yes,
and we rehearse, have this rehearsal
yes, rehearsal as a Buddha.
already.
Yeah. So it's that notion, coming back to this discussion we're having this morning, that we have already, we can view ourselves, we do view ourselves in Tantra as already possessing the body, the speech, the mind of a Buddha, right? Coming back to what Florin was saying about the practice of prostration, and this is where, with the practice of prostration, you can marry that, is that, you know, when we do our prostration practice, excuse me for doing it sitting down, but that's how it is right now, because I'm totally ensconced here. I'm in a sort of cozy nook. No, I can't run away anyway. But, you know, when we put our hands to the crown, first of all, we put our hands like this, isn't it? That we have the, if we say, want to say Buddha nature or offering a precious jewel, we've used many different analogies.
It's almost like a diamond.
Diamond. Yeah, I mean, look at the precious jewel that Chenrezig is offering. So here, to the crown, to the brow, to the throat, and to the heart chakra, you know, middle of the chest. So okay, I'll try and give a different thinking either way. We could say I prostrate with my body, speech and mind. Okay, in fact, I do say that a lot. And so Florin was saying, you know, we're paying homage, we're bowing with humility to the Buddha, the external being, recognizing the qualities of that as much as we understand. But we can also say, I'm putting my hands to the crown of my head, creating the cause for the Ujnisha, so one of the major marks of the Buddha, right? To have the crown protrusion of the enlightened mind of a Buddha. I'm putting to the forehead to purify ordinary human body and create the causes for the pure body of a Buddha. I'm putting to the throat to purify ordinary speech, human speech, and create the cause for the 60 eloquent qualities of the speech of the Buddha, you know, perfect speech. We could say Dharma. And then to the heart chakra, purifying now ordinary mind and creating the cause for the excellent qualities of the mind of the Buddha, knowing everything as it is, having a mind of bodhicitta and, you know, the most infinite compassion and emptiness combined, ultimate bodhicitta, you know, having perfected all of the perfections, having every perfect positive quality that exists and knowing everything that exists and so forth. So in that way, we're bringing that result into the path, right? By just thinking like that. It doesn't have to be more complicated than that. It does get more complicated than that, but it doesn't have to be more complicated than that. But even that, right?
That is inspiring.
And does it involve any energies? I'm thinking when we are doing it seriously, and because they're saying, that the mind rides in the wind, right? Does it help us to?
Sure. So Eva's asking about the mind riding in the wind. I think we're going to look at this more tomorrow morning in terms of what I was saying this morning about the central channel. So in our in the Vajrasattva practice, you know, when we do the 9-round training, actually we might do that meditation, maybe we could do it at the beginning of the next session, just that 9-round breathing, as it is explained in the Vajrasattva practice, which starts to deal with that subtle energies of the body. So there's subtle channels, which are like tubes of light in the body. I mean, nobody's going to open you up and go, there's your subtle tubes of light, you know. They're not going to do that anytime soon. But it's, you know, sort of, as you said, Eva, it's these subtle energies in the body. And even doing this, you know, connecting with the chakras. And so we have the subtle energies in our body and the chakras that our job in Tantra and working with those is undoing, like they say, the knots. So freeing blockages in those channels, right? So we engage in practices to do that. But even we're not there yet, we can think about bringing all our energies into, well, we can do this later, but into that central channel. So gathering all our energies, which brings us more centered, makes it basically becoming more centered, which makes us more powerful, more resilient. We need that energy because while we're engaging in following every sense object that comes along, sense consciousness, our energies are dispersed. And while our energies are dispersed, we lose power. It dissipates. It goes here, there, and everywhere. So we need to gather all those energies together. Yeah, I think we'll do that at the beginning of the next session. Any other questions for discussion at this point, or we take a break?
We're overdue.
We're overdue. How long ago should I have taken a break? Half an hour ago. 20 minutes ago.
So we can need to have a quick and...
Okay, folks. Gosh.
TNP.
Would 15 minutes do it if we 5 past? Is 10 minutes? 10 minutes. I better stay here because I'll forget. She had to come and get me. I forgot to come back. I was busy reading. Okay, 10 minutes.
Okay.
That's not my thing.
Is there anything I can get
If you're on Zoom, they can stay on Zoom, right?
They can. You can just mute here if you want to. So
You can stay on Zoom.
Our chatter if you want.
If you want to unmute yourself and chat amongst yourselves, or
Yes.
I can chat amongst you as well if you want.
Do you need anything?
No, I don't need anything.
Okay.
Thank
More
you.
tea?
If you would like, we could just mute now and then.
Oh, yes, because
It's like, oh.
Ja, merci. No. Hello.
Hi, Chokyi. You're muted. I can't hear you.
I think
No, you're gone again. Still muted. Yeah, that's better.
okay.
Yeah. Hi.
How are you guys? Doing well?
Yeah, we are. How are you?
Good, good, good. Whereabouts are you?
We're in Wanaka, so South Island near Queenstown.
Near Queenstown.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all stuck in our little bubbles, aren't we?
Yeah. Yeah, it's been good. Geshe Tachin from Chandrakirti and Nelson, he came for a visit August, maybe?
I don't remember.
Yeah, so he was down a month or two ago, I guess, which was good. And he's hoping to come back down early next year, I think, which should be good. But yeah, it's been nice. Chandrakirti have done a lot of online retreats, most of the public holidays and stuff. So it's been really nice to be able to connect in with that, even though we're so far away from everyone.
And how's your mum doing? Is she okay down there in Victoria?
Carol, my godmother. Yeah, Carol's been good. Yeah, she's definitely getting a bit over the restrictions in Victoria, I would say. But yeah, she's been looking after herself so that she's, you know, cruising through and has just been focusing on her practice and doing her thing. So that's been good. But yeah, I was actually in Kopan when COVID hit. I was doing the Vajrasattva retreat this year. So I was planning on coming back from there to Atisha for Rinpoche's trip and dakinying, and then that definitely didn't happen. So it didn't happen. Yeah. Bit of a surreal end to our retreat. Yeah, it was kind of.
Now Amelia's got well, I can't say baby anymore.
Yeah. A small child.
A small child,
yeah. It's crazy. It's been a while, I guess, since the last one.
Yeah, it has been a while. Yeah. I keep thinking, I think the dakinying days are over for us, but I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
So I was just thinking, oh no, Venerable Demchok, was she over there at Kopan when you were there? She lives here now.
Maybe there was a few nuns there when we first got there, but because we were doing retreat, like
you didn't see.
I wasn't talking to anybody. Yeah, there was a few nuns from different centers there, and actually the Nalanda monks were there for a while. They were
at Maritika or they were at Kopan?
They started at Kopan. They came to receive like practice instructions from the Geshis on the different rituals and how to do them properly so that they could take them back and implement that at Nalanda. And then quite a few of them went on to Maritika. Actually
they only just got home a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, it was crazy. I did the online nungnays with them over Sakadawa. So that was really cool. Yeah, one of the students from here, from Sydney, well, she was from Brisbane, but then she went down to Sydney. So she was over there, did the Nyungnays there. Oh, wow. Awesome. Yeah, it's so nice just to have that material available online now as well.
Yes, isn't it?
Yeah, it was just, this is so cool because I wanted to do it, but was a bit nervous doing it by myself for the first time.
Yeah.
So, it was nice to be able to
one of the students here who is about to finish DB, she just needs to do the 3 Nyungnays, so we're trying to make that happen for her.
Oh, cool.
So we should be able to do it.
Yeah, that would be awesome. That's really cool. Yeah, I was actually hoping before COVID to get over there because you guys normally do like 8 sets over Sakadawa. So I was
Venerable Elsa's she's planning to do them next year. So we're trying to make that happen next year.
Cool. Yeah, I'd be keen to come over for that for sure.
Yeah, we're just talking about it yesterday actually, because we still want to do the end of year Vajrasattva retreat and lam-rim retreat. So we just have to see. We're fortunate with I like you guys are, I suppose, you know, we can do more things than a lot of other people. So
yeah, absolutely. Really lucky.
Yeah.
Kind of crazy how different some people's worlds are depending on where they're living at the moment.
It is totally, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, cool. How are you, Ingrid? Are you there? Maybe she's gone to get a cuppa.
I'm there, Venerable Chokyi.
Hello.
Hi. Yeah, I just needed time to press the right buttons.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
Yeah. I'm doing well, sort of, yeah. And I'm looking forward to come in December.
Absolutely. December, we have to have a big party.
Yes, definitely. So
or a small party, probably.
Yes, yeah.
Whatever we're allowed to do.
And I hope I can meet most people in person then. That would be great.
Yeah, I hope Virginia can join us then.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, it'd be nice celebrate DB together.
Yeah, it's 1.5 years now. No,
Yes.
2.5 years. 2.5 years.
I know, 2018.
Yes, very good. Yeah.
Wow.
And yeah.
Pretty impressive.
Yes.
I know, it's been nice to, anyway, when you come, I've got a few jars to give you for your jams.
Good. Yes, and there's something in the pipeline coming up there. Eva will do a transport, she said. Yes. Thank you. Okay, and thank you very much for your teaching. Really good. Thank you so much.
It's a joy. It's a joy.
Thank you.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. Okay, I unmute now and
Yeah,
mute now again. Thank you.
Yangshin, would you mind to get me the Nyungne book? I only need one. I don't, everyone else doesn't need to have. Not the abiding in the retreat, the actual Nyungne practice. Although I'd probably find it in there.
Even it's familiar with the same, but you can speak.
Yeah, for sure. Should I take that abiding in the retreat pack? There's that one for you.
How's your water? Does that need topping up or refreshing? Get your new water. In the gompa. Okay, beneficial discussion actually. It was Tantra related, so it was quite interesting. Eva made a point about the, you know, sort of the, who would you say? Well, acupuncturists do that. And herbalists, Chinese herbalists, like the working, and the Tibetan doctors, working with the very subtle energies of the body. They're reading everything about you just by feeling your pulse. And they, you know, the Tibetan doctor I went to, she was so light in her touching, it was almost non-existent, and she had read me in 5 seconds flat.
There are
Wonderful.
9 type of pulses, like you just like,
Yeah, all the
like
different
you
types
feel
of pulses.
different,
So this is tapping into subtle energies
Yeah.
of your body, and as Eva was saying, they know everything about you, and just like that. So no, she was visiting from India. Sorry, may not happen again for a while. I wish there was a Tibetan doctor around here. Not that I know of. Anyone knows, let us know. So that was one thing. So I just wanted, you know, following on from our discussion about this 24-hour prayer-a-thon. So we as a group, I think we participated one other time early on, but we're going to be participating tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. So we will, from 9 a.m. to 9:30 tomorrow, which is part of our program anyway, but we'll use that time to recite the prayers. I can read it and everyone can have a copy, and so don't feel like you have to know something.
And it's
And incorporates also a Chenrezig practice in there, so I'll incorporate that a bit more in there. It's only half an hour, so I can't get too elaborate.
what language?
In English.
There's a few Sanskrit words in there.
Yeah, but there's not many Sanskrit words.
You'll
It's
be
mostly
okay.
English. We'll be all fine. Yeah, so I'm just saying that because if you want to participate, we'll have to start at 9 a.m. So
Exactly, because that's when the
yeah,
other
it's
person,
a-
the
it's the-
computers switch over.
it's the very last session. So the very first session, we kick off here every Saturday, 9:30 a.m. So it coincides with the 5 a.m. in India. So 5 a.m. in India to 5 a.m. in India was the chosen time. And so 9:30 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. here. So we will do that first session. So I'm just saying, if you want to do that, get here a few minutes early so we can be settled. But if you're not here a few minutes early, just come in quietly. It's fine. You know, it's absolutely fine. The camera's probably going to be here rather than see.
You're looking at you. We won't be online so much.
I don't know. We might have you nuns up around here so we can see there's more than just me, you know.
Okay, fair enough.
Or Margot likes to have a shot of everybody sometimes.
I'm thinking
So if you don't want to be in the shot, those who are here in the Gompa, just let us know.
we'll have both the Zoom, like you'll have the Zoom for the IMI
Right,
going. And
yeah.
then so what I was just going to suggest is I'll make sure that the DB Zoom, the one that we're using now, is opened up in plenty of time so people can come in and be settled, and we'll have the camera. Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, you're going to continue to 9:30 to finish with IMI, and I'm going to do the DB. I'll
so
talk to you about it
Graham's,
after.
so we're going to have two
We're gonna have two
Zooms
Zooms and two
operating.
cameras. No, because we've got to have the IMI and the DB.
We've
So-
become very high tech here
So
at
that's what I was
CI.
just going to say. So you continue with yours, I'll come in, set up DB, and we'll have both going at the same
You
time.
can have the DB camera.
So those of
We
you,
could.
participating on Zoom, because we're going to use just the same DB one, because we'll keep that going.
Yes,
But
that's
for the first half hour, we also have a separate Zoom for the prayer-a-thon, which doesn't really affect you, but Graham's going to be on one camera and Leonie's going to be on the other, and it's all going to be happening.
It'll be production.
We're having a multimedia production.
So the point was though, if I have it all set up early, people can come in from about 1:45, be all ready, relaxed, ready, and ready to go with everything. Okay.
Okay, thank you. And we'll also, as I mentioned, be having a little celebration at lunchtime. Not sure what the celebration is. We'll
Oh,
probably
have you seen Ingrid's message?
Ingrid's message. No.
Could you please also send a copy?
Oh, sorry. Yes. I did see. Yes, send a copy. Sorry, a copy of the prayers. So it is on the YouTube link.
And they can get that now by going straight to Chenrezig YouTube right now. It'll be right on there now.
Okay.
Yep.
If you go to Chenrezig Institute YouTube right now, it'll have the link for the prayer. But of course, yes, can send it around as well. Just have to remember to do that after class.
And of course, they can watch it on YouTube at any time.
And you can watch it YouTube at any time because Leonie does.
Because it's always on there.
It's always on. Yeah. Okay, so yes, we'll send the prayer. I was going to say we could share screen, but that won't be me. You'd think I'd know by now, but I don't. I mean, I know I can see the button, but I have to.
We might be able to share screen on the GB one.
Okay, we might give it a go.
I'll ask Marco to show me.
All right, we'll, step up the technology. Of course, Venerable Cuts all those does it already, and many other. I participate in lots of Zooms where they share the screen, and I'm like, if they can do it, I can, but I haven't tried.
It's a button that says share screen.
Yeah, it's a button, but you have to know what you're sharing.
I'm not sure.
Because I've been on ones that haven't worked too. Okay. We're all getting techno savvy, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, so, all right. Was there any other things I had to say? All right, not before tomorrow anyway. Okay, so, in the half an hour we have left, we might get to the end of session 2. All right, so we were just, we looked at the connection with a guru, particularly a fully qualified Vajrayana, Vajra master, as they're called, and preceptor, when we take whatever levels of Tantra, which we will look at tomorrow, the different levels. And for this, it does take some conviction, some faith, because otherwise you could have that diamond sitting right in front of you and you go, oh, it's a hunk of stone, chuck it out, or whatever. You let it get covered in dust. You don't realize the precious jewels that we have, right there in front of us. So this thing of inspiration, the condition for us to receive that, because two-way street, right, is that we have to have a mind of faith. So we've already checked out, we have a faith in the Buddhist teaching, even we don't understand it all. As the Buddha said, only a Buddha understands karma. We get it at one level and we sort of go, yeah, well, that makes sense. Good enough, right? For me to posit. I can't refute it, right? So as it says over, the quote from the Buddha, as the wise test gold by burning, cutting, rubbing on a piece of touchstone, so are you to accept my words after examining them and not merely out of regard for me. So it's not because the Buddha said. Well, I get that in the context of the Buddha's teachings, because I think when I ask questions in my Catholic upbringing, and I realise I appreciate things have changed in the last 50 years or so, was that it's sort of like, well, because God said, So it's like, yes, miss. We didn't call the nuns venerable. What do we call them? Sister. Sister. Okay. Sister. Okay. So it's not just because the Buddha said so, even though the Buddha does have omniscience, so we can have confidence, but it's because we've checked up, we've used our own analytical processes, and either we have come to that conclusion ourselves through our own meditation practice, or we at least can't refute it. As the Buddha says, if you can refute it, chuck it out, no problem. Because if it can be refuted, then it's not a truth. Makes sense, right? If it can be validly refuted. So we've got to use our own wisdom. So we're the boss of that. Okay, so nonetheless, we've got this factor of Shraddha, faith, literally placing our heart upon it. Trust, confidence, faith, conviction. There are different levels of this. And I know we've discussed this over the past couple of years a few times, but very good to. So different analogies used. Clarifying faith. So if we think clarifying, like a water purifying gem clears away the murkiness of water and reveals its clarity. So the faith that arises when the murkiness is cleared away. So that may come on continuously, particularly as we purify our minds, particularly as we hear more teachings, things become more and more clear. It's like, I've heard that before, but I've never heard that before. What do we say? The penny drops. You know,
Aha.
the aha. Ah, that's what you were on about all those years. This is why we have to hear the teachings over and over and over again. It's not like once and you graduate, you know.
Just used to keep saying to me, just drop it, just let it go.
Let it go, let it go.
About 2 years later, I said, I had to tell her, oh, I finally got what you meant when you said let it go.
She finally got what let it go meant, drop it.
For 2 years.
But, you know, keep in mind, the Buddha said, don't just accept it. We have to come to this process of clarification, which is in part ways by the purification of our muddy waters of the mind, but also by hearing more and more teachings, hearing it from different perspectives, different teachers, with different students, discussing, reflecting, meditating. We need all of that. And then the aspiring faith, actually even before that, we have this level of admiring faith. I mean, you might look at Chenrezig and you go, hey, it'd be cool to have 1,000 arms. But only cool if you know what to do with them, right? So why would it be cool to have 1,000 arms or eyes or whatever? So we admire, as we have just been discussing, certain qualities in our teachers or in previous, you know, Bodhisattvas, now Buddhas, and in the Buddhas, and so forth. So we admire that and go, that's something I want. That's a sort of mind of admiring, of admiration. Shakyamuni Buddha. I mean, a lot of people admire the Buddha from afar, isn't it? From the garden, or on the wall, or wherever else they have in their house. Buddha's cool. But do they think, I want to become that?
Good thing about the Dalai Lama, people look at him and he's so happy all the time, and they're more inclined to say, I want to be like that.
So Venerable Wangmo is saying more people might be more inclined to think, see the Dalai Lama and say, yeah, I want to be like that. Yeah, because it's possible. Because it's possible, because there's another human being. This is the kindness of the Buddha taking human form for our benefit. We haven't even got onto the Buddha body, so that'll have to come tomorrow.
And also just seeing the monastics in their robes is just truly inspiring. It's lovely. It's like a precious moment.
Yes.
And I remember I was at the airport one time with my 2 young girls. We were dropping, I don't know, we were traveling somewhere. And, you know, some Tibetan monks came through, and you know, of course, I'm just mesmerized, as I always am when I see robes, and I instantly found something in my bag for my 2 little girls to come over and give and be blessed, and you know, just their presence, as well as, you know, admiring Buddhas and things around, just to be able to see the robes is truly fabulous. Sorry,
thanks, Kate. No, thanks, Kate. It's true. You know, you reminded me when I was in the airport one time when we were when Choden Rinpoche was catching a plane, and we were at the airport with Rinpoche, and he was seated, and you know, people doing all the visa thing and all of that sort of business. So he was sitting there, and this woman who was drunk ran and like threw herself at Choden Rinpoche, and I thought, how fascinating, because she even drunk, she recognized the specialness and was attracted, like you, Kate, to the robes, to the presence of that. So a very good reminder of our spiritual selves, right? As our capacity, what we're capable of. I just thought that was so joyous, you know, really. Yeah, so this is this admiring faith. Now, had she gone further and said, can you help me? She would have had a wonderful teaching. And so would we. I mean, Rinpoche, you know, when he wasn't on the throne, he was of few words. So and it's the thing we have to ask. So then the aspiring faith, building on that, okay, I'm attracted to that. Now, on top of being attracted, okay, how do I get that? How do I become like you? I aspire to be like that. And to aspire to be like that, you must have some level of conviction that it's possible, right? That it is possible to be like that. You know, and the reason we have some conviction that it's possible is we've sort of contemplated a bit what it means to be a Buddha. We've done some study, we've done some reflection, we maybe meditated on the Buddha image and the Buddha's qualities and all of that sort of thing. So this is the mind that says, I will definitely do it. This is the mind of Tantra. I will do this. I will become a Buddha. Not only that, I will do it as quickly as I can. That's even more, because that's not just for my benefit, not just because I can, I will, I must. The universal responsibility, this little booklet, you know, I have responsibility for this. It's like we all need to get that sense of universal responsibility. That's what we did in the bodhicitta meditation, to 7-point cause and effect. We get to the point of love, compassion, repaying the kindness, all of that. And then taking responsibility. I will do all this by myself alone. And so then we have the face of conviction through contemplating the teachings and a strong sense of validity of the teachings because we've checked it up. As Lama said, check up. As the Buddha said, cut it, burn it, you know, check it up. Is it true? Is it really gold? Is it fake? So is the Dharma genuine or fake? So the Dharma is like the gold because gold can't be contaminated. I mean, gold is pure, right? I mean, it can have a whole bunch of other stuff, but it's like the water. It's pure. Is it the most stable metal there is? Is it? Any metallurgists amongst us? No. Okay. And so then having all this, and here we are in the Tantric path, okay, you could say that equally applies to Sutra, but having it in the Tantric path is we then need, for engaging in Tantric practice, having checked out the teacher, having conviction in the Buddha's teachings, having conviction that I too can become a Buddha, so we've got all of this coming into place, all these conditions coming together, then it's like, okay, now I need an empowerment. Now I need to receive that transmission. So some of us have received transmissions of the mantra path from our teachers, right? They've given us the mantra of compassion, the mantra of Tara mantra, Medicine Buddha mantra, Vajrasattva mantra, mantras. And then it's getting the, when we say empowerment Wong in Tibetan. So we have Wong Mo here, powerful woman over here, watch out. This none, Wong Mo, woman, power. How do you say it? How do you say your name? No, you said the other day. Yeshi Wong Mo. Yep, virtue.
Wise. And isn't Yeshi wise? Wisdom?
Yes.
And strong.
Yes.
Strong, wise, strong.
She's a wise, strong woman. Okay, none. Okay, Wong. So there's different levels. We have what we call Jainang, and that's more like a blessing for the mind or subsequent permission, it's called. So, and then we have a level of Wong, which is when you're empowered to engage in the practice. So like from Lama Yeshe, for us to progress along the Tantric path to complete self-fulfillment, there must be a meeting of the inner and outer guru. So this is the purpose, is for that Vajra master to, it's a heart-to-heart connection, or as Lama Yeshe says, it's a shared meditation. It's not like the Lama says, you know, I now bless you, you can now do this. It sort of does that as well. It doesn't really say those words, right? or she, but I don't know any she's that have permissions to give empowerments, but there you go. I'm not saying they don't, well, I do actually. I think some of the Sakya female lamas, His Holiness Sakya Trison's sister, Hema, anyway, so there are a few. It's not saying they don't exist. Our own enlightened potential must be energized and inspired by contact with somebody who's already developed this potential within themselves, fully within themselves. All right. So it comes back to the energy. Our mind gets energized by them. We have to have a mind of faith for that to happen. Because I could go along to the teaching, and I certainly at that Kala Chakra, I mean, there were those who enjoyed every day a picnic on the hill and feeling the good vibes. So they got good vibes. Did they get the empowerment? I don't know. I don't know their minds. But I know they got good vibes, because we all got good vibes. Okay. Our own enlightened potential, yeah, energized. Each tantric sadhana, so this is like the practice that you do. So depending on the level of empowerment we'll go into tomorrow, the commitment, I mentioned the commitment. Sometimes the commitment is a number of recitations of a mantra, and sometimes it's a whole practice. For example, not even with an empowerment, but we have the Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga practice. So those of us who were here when His Holiness Ling Rinpoche was here, anyone who was here then, 2014, 15, and gave the transmission of Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga, and the commitment was a mala every day of the mixed sema, right? And then Rinpoche also gave the advice for those that wish to then also do, well, I think at least one person I know did quite quickly 100,000 mixed semas in the context of the sadhana practice. So sometimes it comes as a package. It's not just, you can do the, like when we do the Mani retreat, it's a whole Chenrezig practice, and we accumulate the numbers of the mantras that we do. So it can come in different forms. So that's the sadhana practice, right? Can be short, can be long, can be in between. So the sadhana, literally a method of accomplishment to establish the meditational deity who embodies a particular aspect of the fully enlightened mind. So we've talked a little bit about that particular aspect. Chenrezig, the aspect of compassion. Manjushu, the aspect of wisdom. Vajrapani, the aspect of power. Tara, swift energy, and so forth. Or the many, many deities, different deities. In fact, there are many different forms of Chenrezig as well. Many different forms of Chenrezig. So I mentioned Yamataka as the highest yoga tantra aspect. Okay. So the fully realized mind of the deity, the fully realized mind of the deity, the Buddha, creates its own transformed environment we call the mandala of the deity, or the abode of the deity. And one has to have an empowerment to see that mandala, let alone to meditate on it, right? So again, going to that Kala Chakra, we were very fortunate in 1996, His Holiness gave Kala Chakra empowerment in Sydney. And you don't get to see the mandala to right at the very end after the empowerment, right? So we have here in the Gompa down here, a Mandala House. It's got a perspex thing over to protect it at the moment. Comes out every so often when we did the Mani retreat here recently. came out. You can see it's got curtains closed. And so the symbolism of that is, so it represents the abode. But that, you know, keeping it closed because it's keeping it secret, right? But when we engage in the practice, those engaging in the practice, it's open. And then it closes up, open and close. So mandala, of course, we all know about offering mandala, right? We've all offered some form of mandala, you know, to the simplest form with our fingers. We visualize the whole universe. Now, I just wanted to say something about that in relation to the inner, what we call the inner mandala. There's the retreat book there. So we have outer mandala, inner mandala, and then there's secret and all sorts of others. We have the practice of offering a mandala requesting the teachings, and thanksgiving mandala at the end of teachings. So it's a visualization of a universe, a world system, or pure Buddha field. Okay. It says here, so I'm on page 32. So when we talk about the outer mandala, we talk about, you know, I'll say, you know, the Saji Perky one, this ground anointed with perfume, strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru. So you can see we're seeing an external environment that is transformed. This world system has no Mount Meru, as far as I'm aware of, that we exist in, the earth, as we call it, that we abide in as human beings. It says the Mount Meru, the 4 continents, you go, oh, we've got 5. So these are symbols. So the 4 continents, north, south, east, west, we're in the southern continent of, which sort of works when you're in Australia, isn't it? Southern continent, works for me. But it's not to be taken literally. So this is a visualized thing, and then the sun and the moon, trying to get a sense of the whole universe. But it says to imagine it as a Buddha land. So we're already doing this, training our mind to create a sense of a pure Buddha field. May all transmigratory beings, that means all human beings, all animals, all hell beings, all hungry ghost beings, all God realm beings, all those in the desire realm, all those in the form realm, formless realm, may they all enjoy this pure land, right? So we offer it for enjoyment. Okay, fine, that's good enough. The next one, which here is now stapled over, oh, it still says the same thing, offering the objects of the 3 poisonous minds. This is also known as the inner, which is our stuff. It means inner as in our stuff. And it says, the objects of my attachment, anger, and ignorance, friends, enemies, strangers, body, and enjoyments, without any sense of loss, I offer them. Please kindly accept them. So we're offering to the Guru, we're offering to the Buddhas. And bless me to pacify the 3 poisons in dependence upon their own objects. So it's a new translation, slightly different translation. So it's basically saying, take all of me, take everything, you know, the objects of my attachment, anger, and ignorance, friends, enemies, strangers. Well, when I first encountered this, I thought, oh, great, take all my yucky stuff. Thank you very much. I don't want it. Until I learned that was the wrong way of offering the mandala. Just saying, don't take things literally. That we actually, just like in the external environment one, the Pure Land, we in our minds transform this into everything most gorgeous and offer that. Right, that's what we're offering. I'm just saying.
No, I appreciate that heads up because I had this.
It's a heads up. It's like, great, I can just, here, take it away from me. Of course I want it taken away from me, but I have to do the hard work. So in our own minds, we're already training ourselves to purify those, to transform them into precious jewels, whatever, go for it, and offer that purity, okay? So just mentioning that one.
But it's not only yucky stuff, it's also the
no, it's not only, it's enjoyment to friends. We'll get on to those obviously tomorrow. How much have I said we'll get on to tomorrow? Quite a bit already?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, so this is the fully transformed environment. So this combination of the deity and the surrounds, the abode, the environment, sometimes they say palatial abode or mansion, palatial mansion, or celestial mansion. Yes, I was looking for that. Celestial, like in the sky, right? All made of light. Mansion, the abode of the deity. Everything most gorgeous. So if we wish to actualize a particular deity within ourselves, we have to be introduced to his or her, their mandala. So we're introduced to that by a Vajra master. This is the empowerment. There's some other, quite a few other bits that come along to, different stages of empowerment that come along, different things that happen at those. So we have to be introduced to that by a fully qualified Vajra master, fully qualified Tantric master, in order for us to receive that authentic lineage. Remember, this all goes back to Shakyamuni Buddha, Buddha Vajradhara. So that for our subsequent practices of self-transformation, in other words, our rehearsal for change that we've been talking about, our rehearsal of our full Buddhahood, has a possibility of succeeding. We must have that empowerment. We can't just decide, oh, I'm going to do it, because guess what? You won't know what you're doing and you could go crazy. Literally, it's dangerous. Literally it is. This is why the Buddha did it in such, secret. Okay. So then this fully qualified Tantric master, whoever they are that you take an empowerment with, is never not your teacher. Right? So just as in the Sutra path, and when we way back looking at relating to a spiritual teacher, taking a lot of time to consider who is this fully qualified spiritual teacher, even more so here, because you're dealing with a much more subtle level of mind, even more so necessary. So that's why I tended, when even I've heard this Lama's giving this and this Lama's giving that, and it's just like, that's great. But I've never been to a teaching with them, right?
Who you have a connection with.
Well, who you have a connection with, but also, I think, like we were talking about before, the one that walks into the room and moves your heart, or you're sitting there and you get zapped. And it may not be like any of those things. It may be a gradual, over time conviction in, yep, because they really kicked me up the path. Isn't it?
Yeah, because it might be that
it can happen in very different ways. Because if you sit there waiting to get a flash of lightning, it may never happen, probably won't happen. But what we will get is a developing, that's why we have these different levels of faith and conviction. It will happen that it grows and grows and grows within you. That's why they say it takes so much time to check them out. And you can't do that when there's a fly-by-night somebody. But nobody's flying by night these days, or all day, it seems.
With Geshe-la, every time I go to a teaching, you just have that much more faith in him as a teacher and what he's saying.
Yes, the faith that we have in Geshe-la, because every teaching, and he's,
He's being with people, how he is with every different sort of
engaging everybody in this place. And we're all different, right? We have all different needs and wants.
Small child that sat on the phone with him.
Oh, Remy. Yeah. I know, because yesterday I was down there zooming in, and it's like, oh, Remy's back up with Geshe-la on the throne. So cute. Beautiful.
They have a very strong connection.
They have a really strong connection. Every time he comes up, where's Geshe-la? We're going to see Geshe-la. So sweet. Okay. All right. We might use this at the beginning of tomorrow, this little visualization at the end, because it's having this inspiration, you can read through it, touching our heart, awakening. This is the role of that teacher, student, disciple, whatever label we want to use, connection, that they move our heart, they touch our heart, we do feel empowered to engage in the practice, that we have received the blessing for that, you know, this idea of our receiving a transmission empowerment. Okay, so as I said, these empowerments, there's a, you know, whole series of various processes, which are pretty similar for the different levels of Tantra, regardless of the deity. You know, there's a structure to that. And so it's what gives us the ability, ideally, to engage in that specific practice. Because if we say it's who we have that connection with as a teacher, but it's also with the deity. So, and then ultimately we see that the guru, the Vajra master, the deity, ourselves, the mantra, the mandala, all inseparable, non-dual. So all of these are one. So it's a gradual cultivation of that, that sort of non-dual mind, of course, comes in the end, would, of course, but, you know, that we gradually train ourselves that once having received the empowerment, until we receive an empowerment, for example, you know, we'll talk more about in December, the Nyungnes, the Chenrezig practice, and that's why I wanted to, maybe we could just read this as our final closing. The Nyungne practice, which is a great Chenrezig practice. So it means it's, you know, all these words mean something, but a great empowerment if one has taken the empowerment. But if one hasn't taken the empowerment, despite what it says in the text, you visualize in front or you visualize above the crown of your head. We do this with Vajrasattva because that's the function of Vajrasattva, regardless of whether you've done the practice or not, the empowerment or not. Of course, if you've done the empowerment, some other visualizations that come along. But the function of it is for purification. We always visualize above the crown of our head, right? Vajrasattva. So no problem whether you've had the empowerment or not. There will be, though, different meditation practices with the empowerment. And different power to the practice, because empowerment means the power of the practice. You've received the power of the practice. Not just the permission to practice, it means that as well, but also the power of the practice itself. And that depends on our level of faith that we have indeed received that, our conviction in that. Okay, maybe that's enough for today. There's so much to be said. I mean, this could go on for a year or two. Well, actually, it's quite interesting because at the moment, studying the paths and grounds of Tantra with Geshe Samten in Sydney. So that's taken one of the most profound, you know, sort of go-to Guru Samaja practice, which is you get all the commentary on the highest yoga tantra practices there. It's quite elaborate, and I think we'll be doing it for a few years. I'm not sure. Nobody's dare giving, you know, one of the nuns said, when do you think it'll finish? And I said, nobody's giving a date. Nobody ever does, you know, because it will be extensive, detailed, and precious. So very wonderful. So we can, you know, like with everything, we can spend lifetimes on the lam-rim, we can spend lifetimes on the tantra, you know, all of this, all our practices. So, oh, we're running out of time. Time runs. Okay. I was going to do that, but it's a little bit too long. But what I did want to, no, have to do that tomorrow. We'll have to talk about Chenrezig more. We will, anyway, with the Nyungnes, because this Po practice, the praise of Bhikshuni Lakshmi, that she composed, having a direct vision of Chenrezig. And you feel empowered just knowing that, right? That this comes, and this is like when we recite tunes in the Guru Puja, which is a Guru yoga practice, which we engage in once we've, particularly once we've had empowerment, but of course anyone can participate in Guru Yoga because there's always checking Buddha and our teachers and all of that. But just thinking that you're singing the chanting, the tunes, by those tunes arose in their own minds as realizations, sort of makes goosebumps, for me anyway, you know. So you're tapping into this amazing energy, powerful energy. It's the power of Tantra. That's why it's a swift method. Okay. Well, I'll put that one aside, but I will do the short one of Chenrezig. I think this is, seeing we're in Chenrezig Institute, Chenrezig statue. I will, as our dedication for today, okay, as our dedication for today, I'll recite. No, I'll chant. I'm one person, so I can chant. O warrior, compassionate eyed one, who is the treasure of compassion, I request you, please listen to me. Please guide myself, mothers and fathers, in all 6 realms to be freed quickly from the great ocean of samsara. I request that the vast and profound peerless awakening mind may go with the tear of your great compassion. Please cleanse all karmas and illusions. Please lead with your hand of compassion me and my greatest to fields of bliss. Please Amitabha and Chenrezig in all my lives be virtuous friends. Show well the undeceptive pure path and quickly place us in Buddha's state. Okay, thank you very much, everyone, for today. Excellent. So 9 a.m. in the morning.
5 to 9.
5 to 9.
Tonight?
6 p.m. Tonight is our regular prayers, Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga, protected prayers. I don't know. I will find out. Do you want to end this? End. See you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Most people have left.